I don't think this topic needs a lot of introduction. You've seen the title, and if you've played 5e for any significant period of time, you probably have your own opinion about it. You might think that automatically failing and succeeding on skill checks makes the game more interesting, or that going by rules as written is more realistic, or that this whole debate is stupid and you don't care either way. I myself hold an opinion I didn't hear anyone else's voice, and a system that I believe would make the most people happy. Let's start by saying that I think that creating skill checks has a place in D&D. Not because of balance, but for the sake of players' experience. Rolling a natural 20 or natural 1 is something that can be celebrated or feared by the entire group. It feels much more impactful than rolling a 19 or a 2, despite the actual difference being minuscule. So it's only logical to make those extreme results more impactful in-game, to match the way they are perceived on the meta level. But automatically succeeding or failing is a terrible way to handle it. Why? Let me try to illustrate the issue. Let's say you are a level 12 character with 18 dexterity and a stealth expertise. Perhaps a spy of some kind. That will put your stealth modifier at a plus 12. And let's say that you're trying to sneak past 2 guards on a lookout. These guards rolled a 2 and a 5 on their perception checks, for a total of 4 and 7 respectively. Clearly they aren't paying much attention. Does it feel fair to be noticed by them because you rolled a 1 for a total of 13? Or is it fair to have a character with plus 0 history, who rolled a natural 20, recall more on a topic than someone with a plus 6 who rolled an 18? And it only gets worse when we look at extreme cases. So let's take a level 20 lore bard with stealth expertise and capped dexterity who is under the effects of Pass Without Trace. That is a plus 27 stealth modifier. So does it make sense for this legendary adventurer who honed their skills to perfection, does it make sense for them to completely mess up while sneaking around to a point where everyone in the area can see them on 1 out of 20 attempts? Does it make sense for them to enhance it with guidance, to use their peerless skill feature, and have it simply not matter if they roll the 1? Which brings me to justifying my opinion from the game design perspective. As I just said, automatically failing and succeeding doesn't take into account the total roll, meaning that in 10% of the situations, your character is removed from the equation completely. A level 20 Goliath Barbarian and a random commoner next to him crit succeed and fail their athletics checks just as much. Their stats? Irrelevant. Proficiency? Doesn't matter. Expertise? Magic items? Spells? Nope, and no. Of course you may say that the DM could adjust the results of those rolls to what seems reasonable to them, but that also applies to literally every single rule in D&D. They are here to make the DM's life easier. So here's the system I'm suggesting. Decide on a modifier, somewhere between 2 and 5 I'd say. Then, whenever a crit is rolled on a skill check, add or subtract that modifier. And let's revisit the previous examples with this new rule, using 5 as our modifier, so we can see how this rule affects the game in its most extreme form. Our experienced spy's stealth roll would result in an 8, just barely enough to sneak past. Perhaps they made a small but significant mistake which the guards were actually likely to notice, but didn't because, as mentioned before, they weren't paying much attention. The chance for the failure wasn't removed completely, it was just slightly reduced. And more importantly, made dependent on the strength of the character. If they didn't have expertise, or their dexterity was lower, they would get caught. Meanwhile, with our history rolls, we get a roll of 18 for the total of 24 for the educated character, and natural 20 from the uneducated one for a total of 25. Well, isn't that peculiar? Seems like this rule didn't change anything in this situation, but though the result is the same, the way we got here matters for the experience. One character did better not because of a single dice roll, but because of their roll, combined with all other modifiers we're using, ended up better than the roll and modifiers of the other one. If it seems all the same to you, then great. But there are people, myself included, who find the difference between I failed because of an arbitrary 5% chance versus I failed because in this situation, with these rolls, my character wasn't quite good enough to succeed, rather impactful. And at the end of the day, finding ways to maximize the amount of players satisfied with the rules is just good game design. And if you disagree, share it in the comments. I would love to have a civilized discussion about this since, at the end of the day, I only have a single point of view, and things might seem completely different to other people.